Let's move on then to the main points of this show, really. Obviously, Andy Robertson got injured a few days ago. Everyone's probably seen the pictures. He limped off against Spain, wasn't it, with a shoulder injury. A controversial game as well, where Scotland, in the end, it's worked out okay for them. They still qualify, but it was a very controversial game. So we went off, obviously, shoulder. We think it was a dislocation. I think that's what everyone's kind of assessed what it as. What do you know about this one? What's the latest on the Robertson situation?
Yeah, there's not been any update from Liverpool's end. Obviously, they were back. I think the players were back in yesterday. So obviously they'll have a week. Well, the ones who aren't on international duty will have a week building up, and there's been a few that have obviously been in during the break. Cody Gakpo, I think, one of those. Fingers crossed on his fitness ahead of the weekend. But Robertson, it'll be looked at in depth. I mean, it's not good, is it? You know, he's gone off. I mean, we've had shoulder injuries with Liverpool players before, haven't we? Obviously, famously, and they're not quick. I mean, in fairness to Salah, I think Salah made quite a miraculous recovery, didn't he? I think he was back playing maybe within a couple of weeks with the World Cup.
He was severely hampered, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have been if it hadn't been a World Cup, but you know, I don't think Liverpool's need for Robertson is that great to sort of tape him up and get him out, but it doesn't look like it's going to be any chances from playing on Saturday against Everton. At least you've probably got then obviously the midweek game in the Europa League, and then there's a couple of games there that you maybe say, well, okay, if you were going to take your time with a player, maybe the game's coming up, Nottingham Forest, Luton, Bournemouth in the Cup, there's Brentford after that, I think. You maybe could, and maybe give him a little bit longer than you normally would. So yeah, it's poor timing for him with the derby. I mean, and I also think it's poor time for Liverpool with the derby, because I think he's one of those players that I think you want him in a game like that. He's got the sort of the natural intensity to his game. I think he reads the game and what the game needs really well at Anfield. You know, he can inject a little bit of energy and tempo and purpose into things, and you know, he's had some great performances against Everton obviously in the past. So I think it is a blow for that. Maybe not the worst time thereafter in terms of having an injury, but yeah, this game certainly is one that Liverpool would rather have Robertson than not.
It's interesting as well, because Steve Clarke was asked about it, and he said, you know, he's gone back to his club, and he was asked if he's going to be fit for the next month's games. Obviously the next round of qualifiers in November, and he said if he is, great, but if he's not, then he's not. So he's not even, nobody seems to be like,
that's very Steve Clarke.
There's a lot of cards close to chests here on this kind of thing. Like shoulders, it's mad. You can be back in a few weeks. It can take months. I suppose Liverpool are just, I don't know what they're waiting for. I'm sure we'll find out in due course, but probably when Jürgen speaks at the latest at the weekend. But
yeah, you'd hope there'd be an update before then.
Yeah,
you know, just from that side. I mean, Robertson, it didn't look good, did it? It looked a sore one, didn't it? The goalkeeper, wasn't it, landing on him, or him landing together. You'd rather it wasn't a dislocation, because obviously that brings its own complications. But if it's a damage to the joint, or it could be a collarbones injury, things like that. Yeah. So fingers crossed it's on the fortunate side. Liverpool got lucky with, or as lucky as you can get with Gakpo. I think a lot of people feared the worst. Hopefully it's good news on the Robertson front, but yeah, I'd rule him out of Everton unless there's a miraculous turn of events.
Absolutely. On that then, let's have a little look at it, because I know you wrote this on your Substack the other day. What happens next? Obviously Kostas Tsimikas is the backup left back, and I guess he's the favourite. He actually played left midfield / wing for Greece last night. Luke Chambers is back fit. He obviously got a little bit of minutes in the Leicester League Cup game. Gerald Quansah perhaps, Joe Gomez. There's a lot to be spoken about here. I mean, if you Kostas Tsimikas, I get you. You're probably thinking, well, it's got to be me. Yeah. You're like, what me? If not now, when? Yeah. But I don't. Is it just? Do you think it's just nailed on that Kostas just goes straight back into it? Because I know you hypothesised in your piece that Jürgen does have other options.
He does. I mean, none of them. Tsimikas is the ideal one in terms of the position he plays. Yeah. Obviously, the others aren't ideal. The others are sort of square pegs, aren't they? A little bit. What I would say is, if it isn't Kostas Tsimikas, then he's got to be looking and saying, what's happening here? Yeah. He just signed a new contract. He is Andy Robertson's backup. Yep. He has been Andy Robertson's backup successfully in the past, Yep. So you would expect it to be him, and he's had some games which is good. He's had 290 minutes. He played left back against Ireland, set a goal up with a lovely cross. Played higher up against the Netherlands on Monday night. Maybe, I don't know whether that was to compensate for his defensive problems, or just to get him fit closer to goal for his attacking abilities. So at least he's in some kind of form or some kind of rhythm game-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not impressed, I don't think, in the games that he's played this season. You look at him, I mean, he hasn't featured almost at all in the Premier League, 4 minutes. And that was sort of very late on against Bournemouth. And he came on left wing in that game as well. He came on for Salah and played higher up. So there's obviously... He's got something to prove in terms of his Premier League suitability. I think the last game he started for Liverpool in the league was the final game of last season, and that was a 4-4 draw. That, yeah.
Everyone phoned in.
I wrote about it today on my Substack. Said it was a sort of end of term kind of feel. It did feel like that.
I was watching Everton.
So was I. To be fair, yeah, and I was covering the game.
Yeah.
So he's obviously got something to prove, but he is the backup left back. So it would tally that he would start this game. I mean, he started against Everton last season at Goodison. He came off for Robertson just before the hour mark. So he's got some derby experience. He's obviously a senior player, 27. He's just got a new contract. He's a left back. You would expect him to play. The alternatives, I mean, Luke Chambers, you mentioned. Luke Chambers is an interesting one. Probably a bit too soon for him, but you look, he is potentially a really good bridge between that left back, centre back position, because he can play both. There's a good interview with him on the club website this week. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but he talks about his style of defending and how he's not a rash. He doesn't like to dive in. He likes to intercept and read, and you see him play at academy level, and wherever he is that kind of player. He stays on his feet a lot. He's a really classy kind of player. Uses the ball well. So he potentially in the future could be one of those players. But I think you're asking a lot to elevate him above Tsimikas at this moment in time to fill in league games.
Can I ask?
I was going to say, but what it does do potentially is it brings him into the Europa League reckoning, and that would be brilliant for him and Bournemouth. Yeah, of course. So it brings him up the pecking order, and puts him in the frame for Toulouse, isn't it, next, and obviously Bournemouth.
Yeah, I was looking at I've got the fixtures here. So they play Toulouse on Thursday the 26th. They play Bournemouth on the 1st. They play Toulouse away on the 9th. Now, if Andy Robertson is a month, and you're saying to Kostas can't play 6 games in that short amount of time, he could, but it'd be a risk.
It would be a risk.
If do you think Luke Chambers would be ready, because you've seen a lot more of him than I have, to go Toulouse at home, Bournemouth away, Toulouse away? Do you think he's
well, I think you'd say he'd be ready for Toulouse at home, and you see how he goes. In that sense, he's a good player. Look, he played at Anfield start of last season. He played against Strasbourg, was it? Strasbourg at Anfield in that friendly. And he actually played really well, but he made a couple of mistakes in the game, and they scored from them. And people maybe had an impression of him, he's not ready. Actually, I thought he played pretty well. He got caught out with a couple of passes or whatever it was. I think he's ready to play if needed in a game like that, whether it's Toulouse, whether it's Bournemouth, whether it's both. But you won't know until you give him the opportunity. And I think, you're right. It would be it wouldn't make a lot of sense if, let's say, Robertson was out until the next international break. Let's just, that's okay. That's worst case scenario. Hopefully, you don't want Tsimikas playing every single game. You want to be able to keep him fresh and keep him sort of ready to go for the weekend games. So it does move him into that position. The others, obviously, you mentioned. I mean, we've got on the thing: Jarell Quansah, Joe Gomez. I think Joe Gomez is likelier than Jarell Quansah as a left back. I mean, he made his debut for Liverpool as a left back many years ago, wasn't it? It was
Brendan Rodgers,
8 years ago. Yeah, Brendan Rodgers set the goal up for Coutinho. I say set the goal up. Coutinho did bang it in from 35 yards. They all count. 3 fantasy points, definitely. Yeah. But Joe Gomez makes sense from a tactical point of view. If your whole game is built around that sort of tilt, if you like, of the defence, and having Trent as the attacking right back, and having someone who stays a little bit more, maybe Joe Gomez does make sense. I think Quansah, look, he doesn't look fazed by much, but are you asking him a little bit too much to play him? Not just play in the Premier League, but play out of position in the Premier League or whatever. So you'd say Gomez ahead of them, but I think for now it looks like Tsimikas will play, and I think you have to look whether you like Tsimikas or not, whether you believe it. I've seen mixed comments. I think some people really do like him. Some people think he's not up to much. I have my doubts about him as a long-term player, but he's here. That's what he's here for, isn't it? It was when Robertson can't play. he plays, and I think that'll be the way that Jurgen will go on Saturday. What it does do, it obviously means, and it puts him on. I mean, it might be something he thrives on. It puts him under the spotlight, doesn't it? You know, he's I'm not saying he's a weak link, but he is someone that you'd look at and say, okay, well, if you were doing a team talk with Sean Dyche, you'd say, well, he doesn't normally play in these kind of games. You know, they've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the forward area, so you know what their game plan's going to be. They want to get the ball out wide, they want to get set pieces, they want to get the ball into him. They've got Jack Harrison, who's just made his debut and scored. They've got Dwight McNeil, who obviously plays down there. So you would expect him to be tested in this game, and you know, could go either way, couldn't it? It could be one that he thrives in, plays well. You know, everyone says, "What are you worried about?" And it could be one that we sort of see. That's why we've been a bit worried about him, but hopefully the former. And
it's interesting as well, because I always think this with Kostas, and I'm with you, I've never truly made my mind upon him one way or the other, but he is like what you'd probably want as a backup, an experienced international footy player. Like, it's hard to have like 22 all-star superstars. Like, that is the ideal. There are some positions where people are crying out for a seasoned. Look at right back, for example. They haven't got one. They're playing centre backs or midfielders.
If you had a cap, I mean, I don't know how many caps he's got, but he must have. It must be close to 50 caps for Greece, if not more. You know, that he's got. You know, imagine you had one of those. You know, in every position. You know, you'd be looking at it. And you'd be saying, well, wow, you know, that's some squad, isn't it? So he's
30. He's got 30 games. Yeah, but he hasn't played much.
Yeah, I'd say that's close to 50 if you're a liar.
If you're wrong.
If you're wrong. But you know, listen, he is experienced. He's played in the Champions League. Look, he scored. He stepped up in the most pressurised situations going, you know, and took a penalty in an FA Cup final to win it. So, you know, he's not. You're not throwing someone in who's never experienced this kind of thing, i.e. someone like Luke Chambers or Jarell Kwanzaa even. So, yeah, he's obviously the front runner for this backup position. That's what he's brought to the club for, wasn't it? And he's done it well. You know, he got 6 assists last season. I think he got 6 assists the season before. So he's got good delivery. That what he has got, you know, I've talked a little bit about his negatives or some of the things he maybe doesn't do so well. What he does do is, if Liverpool get corners, he puts them into good areas more often than not. He's got good delivery from wide. He is wholehearted, you know, he's quick. So, you know, okay, he might get caught out of position occasionally, but he's got good physical attributes and getting back. So, yeah, he's not, you know, he's not a nobody, is he? You know, he's coming into a game and he's more than capable of performing. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll wait and see what the Andy Robbo prognosis is. But again, if it just feels like everyone's just keeping this a little bit close. Usually, you know, by now, it's quite, I don't know that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll find out in due course. Don't know. What's your take on that? Because usually, like, you guys are this is usually out by now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we haven't heard anything, have we really? No, I haven't heard anything.
It's been a few days.
We have. Obviously, people have been asking and trying to find out. But yeah, I don't read too much into it. I mean, it happened obviously a while out, didn't it? So it was sort of, you know, if you were thinking, well, there might be a chance he can play against Everton, we won't sort of rule him out already, or we don't know. But yeah, you'd expect even just the fact that he's been forced off in a game, such a big game at the time as well. Obviously, I know it worked out like you say, but it was a huge game, and he's the captain of his country. It would have taken something to get him off that pitch that night. So you're thinking, what, 9-10 days after that, probably no chance for Everton. Probably get another week. You know, he wouldn't have played against Toulouse anyway. So, yeah, fingers crossed it's one of those where it's like, it's just an inconvenience for a week or two rather than a month or two. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that clip from Journo Insight. If you want to check out that entire show right now, either in video or podcast form, head on over to redmenplus.com. If you sign up as a monthly captain and use the promo code Journo, Journo, you'll get 50% off your monthly subscription for the first 2 months. So yeah, go and check out Journo Insight and all the other amazing content over on redmenplus.com. Monthly captain, use the promo code Journo, and I'll see you over there.